Okay, good afternoon to each and everyone who are watching this TV. I am Y.S. Gising, headmaster and political science teacher of Kumli Higher Secondary School. So I'd like to welcome all the students of class 12 of Kalimpong. We are from different schools, and we are able to start the online education for the student of class 12 also from today. Now there are different teachers, they are taking different classes, and as a teacher of political science, I want to teach political science. Now, in political science, there are in class 12, there are altogether 10 chapters and 1 is practical, and out of 10, I'll start from today the chapter 6. Other teachers in political science, they will come and they will take other classes. So the topic of my discussion is the chapter 6, that is the organ of government. Organ of government हामी पढ्छौँ, यो चाहिँ च्याप्टर 6 मा छ, त्यहाँबाट हामी स्टार्ट गर्छौँ अनि अरू टिचरहरू पनि आएर पछिबाट पढाउनुहुन्छ. Now, organs of government. You know, in the society, some sort of system should be there, and for that system, there must be an agency, there must be a government. And in your class 11, you have learned about the formation of the state, about the composition of the state. And you find that one of the important element of the state is the government. You have learned there are 4 elements: number one, population; number 2, territory; government; and the sovereignty. You have already learned this point, and today we'll see the government. Government is the machinery through which the administration of the country is carried on. And what we find here is government has to act. Government ले काम गर्नु पर्छ, अनि government ले काम गर्दाखेरि त्यहाँनिर कतिवटा arrangementको कुराहरू त्यहाँनिर हुन्छ. We can compare the government with the human body. As you know, in human body you will find a number of organs, and all these organs collectively work, and there will be the functioning of the whole body. Similarly, government, in the government also you will find the organs, and in government you will find 3 organs. That means in the government there are 3 organहरू छ. फर्स्टलाई हामी भन्छौँ legislature. Government को पहिलो organ चाहिँ हो legislature. What is the function of legislature? Legislature is the law-making body. Legislature makes the law, passes the law. So in short term, we can call it an act. In the society, there must be rules and regulations, and these rules and regulations are to be framed. These rules and regulations are to be passed. So in the government, you will find one organ, that is legislature. So legislature makes the law, passes the law, and sometimes legislature also bring changes in the law. That we call amendment. That means the legislature also amends the law. Suppose a new law is there, and that law is not applicable according to the need, according to the situation. So the laws are to be changed, and that can be done by being amendment. So that's called amendment. So the first organ of the government is the legislature. And number 2, law is passed. Now there must be somebody to enact that law. There must be somebody to apply that law. There must be somebody to impose that law. And that body which apply the law passed by the legislature is called executive. The executive is that organ which apply the law that is passed by the legislature. As for example, we find a number of laws are there. And when the legislature passes the law, then the law is to be applied, and that body is the executive. So, executive, it executes the law. Now, third is, sometimes you'll find there may be some dispute. झगडा हुन्छ कोही बेला मान्दैन. जस्तो suppose a law is passed and the law is imposed and the citizen they do not obey. And whenever they do not obey, there will be problem. They will be arrested and the case is filed against them and the case is started. So there must be a body which settles the disputes, and that body is called the judiciary. It is called adjudicate. See here, so organs of the government, there are three organs: legislature, it enacts the law, it passes the law, it amends the law, and number two is executive, it executes or applies the law passed by the legislature, and the judiciary settles the dispute. If there is any dispute between the government as well as the people, public, or any department, then the law is executed by the judiciary. That means the such cases, such disputes are settled by the judiciary. So we find these three organs. I'll just give one example. Laws are necessary in the society in order to guide the activities of the people. As for example, we find there is a very important act that is known as Right to Education. Right to Education. Right to Education, अनि त्यसलाई चाहिँ के दिएको छ? Act बनाइदिएको छ. So Right to Education Act हामी सर्टमा यसलाई भन्छ RTE पनि भन्छौँ. Right to Education Act. Now, the government had realized that in the country, without educating the people, it is not possible for the development of the whole country. So, the government realized that all the children, they should be given education. They must get the opportunity of education. That's why the government passed Right to Education. We can find the free and compulsory education up to class 8. Now, law is passed by the legislature, and that law is to be applied, it is to be implemented, and the law is passed to the, or it is handed over to the educational department. We find there are education department, education ministry, and that education ministry has taken the responsibility of the implementation of this. Now suppose, according to this, the children up to class 8 or age 14, they should be in the school. If कोही बेला हामी पाउँछौँ बजारतिर कोही नानीहरू काम गरिराखेको छ, उसको पढ्ने उमेर हो, 14 वर्ष पुगेको छैन भने त्यो नानीलाई सोधपुछ गरिन्छ र सोधपुछ गरेर उनीहरूलाई किन चाहिँ पढ्नु पाएन, किन चाहिँ तिमी चाहिँ यो काम गर्दैछौ, यदि कसैले चाहिँ काम गर्नु उसलाई लगाएको छ भने चाहिँ उसको एक्सन, उसको विरुद्धमा चाहिँ एक्सन लिन्छ. एक्सन इज टेकन अगेन्स्ट हिम or her. Case will start, and that case will be decided by the judiciary. So in this way, the government functions, the government works. So you'll find the government organs of the government ma तीनवटा legislature, executive, judiciary, तीनटा organले यसरी काम गरिरहेको छ. Okay. Now, as the government functions through these three organs, so there must be close cooperation among the three organs of the government. Executive, legislative, judiciary, all these three should come and they have to perform their responsibility. उनीहरूले आफ्नो ड्युटी त्यहाँनिर गर्नुपर्छ। नाउ हियर वाट यु फाइन्ड, मान्छेमा यस्तो पनि हुनसक्छ कि कोही बेला एकै ठाउँमा सबै पावर कन्सन्ट्रेट भयो भने चाहिँ त्यो अलिकति टिरानिकल पनि हुन जान्छ, अलिकति त्यहाँनिर अत्याचारको कुरोहरू पनि बढेर जान्छ। र स्पेसली व्हेन यु सी द हिस्ट्री अफ द ह्युमन बिइङ, ह्युमन सोसाइटी, स्पेसली सोसियल हिस्ट्री, political history, then we find in the ancient period there were kings, even queen also, emperor also, empress also, and even rulers also. There were many kings, even the queens also. They had concentrated all their power in their hands, and they exploited the people. पावर सबै आफ्नो हातमा छ, ल बनाउनु पनि पाउँछ, कानुनलाई त्यसमा एप्लाई गर्नु पनि पाउने, अनि झगडा भए पनि ऊ आफैले गर्नु पाउने। त्यसो हुँदाखेरि चाहिँ के भयो भने पावर कन्सन्ट्रेट भयो, अनि जनताको जुन चाहिँ अधिकार छ त्यो चाहिँ हनन हुन गयो। त्यहाँनिर एउटा भेरी इम्पोर्टेन्ट टर्म छ, लिबर्टी। You have learned about liberty in your class 11. So liberty, independence of an individual, that is individual liberty, personal liberty, etc. So when it is said that when the powers are concentrated to one person, to one group, to one association, then there will be suppression of the people. There will be infringement of the individual liberty. That means the individual liberties are suppressed. एउटा भनाइ भयो, सबै पावर एकै ठाउँमा हुँदाखेरि त्यो मान्छे चाहिँ अत्याचारी हुन्छ भनेर। जस्तो ancient period, many kings were there. They were, number one, lawmakers. They used to make the law. They used to pass the law by themselves. Number two, they used to implement the law. And number three, they used to adjudicate the law. They used to settle the disputes also. So they were very powerful. Now many political philosophers, from the very beginning, they had observed that this type of situation, if it continues, then it will be a great obstacle on the way of the individual liberty. यदि यही खालको चाहिँ कन्टिन्यू भयो भने चाहिँ के हुन्छ भने मान्छेको व्यक्तिगत आफ्नो जुन चाहिँ स्वतन्त्रता त्यसमा चाहिँ हस्तक्षेप हुन्छ भनेर उनीहरूले भने। हामीले हिस्ट्रीमा हेर्छौँ, and you know in class 11 you have learned that political science was born in ancient Greece, and there are many political philosophers like Plato, Aristotle, etc. And Aristotle, the great political philosopher, who was also known as the father of political science, he had also remarked that there should not be the concentration of power for the liberty of an individual. यदि इन्डिभिजुअल मान्छेलाई राम्रो प्रकारले खुलस्तसँगले उसलाई बाँच्न दिनु भने चाहिँ यो कन्सन्ट्रेसन अफ पावर सुड नट बी इन वान ह्यान्ड भन्ने उसले पनि भनेको थिए। एन्ड इन हिज राइटिङ, इन हिज आइडिया, ही ह्याड एक्सप्रेस द्याट आइडिया। त्यसपछि हामी पछि पनि देख्छौँ, पछिबाट पोलिबियस भन्ने मानिसले पनि, अनि पछि अझै अगाडि जाँदाखेरि 16th सेन्चुरीमा हामी जिन बर्डिनको कुरा हामी देख्छौँ। त्यसपछि ह्यारिङटन, जेम्स ह्यारिङटनले पनि यो कुरा भनेका थिए। सो with the passage of time, as the new ideas came into being, and these ideas are added to the stock of political science, the scope of political science, subject matter of political science, these ideas were also began to emerge. अनि त्यसो हुँदाखेरि चाहिँ बढ्दै बढ्दै गएर अन्तमा चाहिँ एउटा भेरी इम्पोर्टेन्ट पोलिटिकल फिलोसफर छ। अनि उनीहरूले चाहिँ के भने पावर सुड नट बी concentrated in one hand. त्यसैको लागि चाहिँ they propounded a very important theory in political science. It is called the theory of separation of power. Okay, now as the power should not be concentrated in one hand, And many political philosophers, they express their opinion that the government should take care of the people, take care of the individual liberty of an individual citizen. So, many political philosophers, they support it and they express the idea that all the powers should not be concentrated in one person, in one hand, in one association, but it should be separated. And this idea later came to be known as the idea or the theory of separation of power. Now next, in this chapter, that is in chapter 6, the very important topic is the theory of separation of power. And my dear student, I want to tell you that this question is important for your 2021 examination also. So, this theory, the theory of separation of power, that you have to learn by heart, and it will be a help for you for your examination also. Okay. Theory of separation of power. So, what is theory of separation of power? Theory of separation of power means the power, that is the power of the different three organs of the government, should be separated. Legislature, executive, and judiciary, these three organs should be separated. And as I have told you, this idea was first expressed by Aristotle while expressing ideas in ancient Greece, and later other political philosophers, they also repeated, or they also had supported this idea, and later in the 16th century also many political philosophers like Jean Bodin also, they also supported this theory. But in the modern time, that is in the modern way, in the modern form, it was Montesquieu. The first modern political philosopher who had given the concrete idea of the theory of separation of power is Montesquieu, and he was the French political philosopher. He had written a book. The name of the book is The Spirit of the Law. In 1748. I just want to tell you about this. He was from France, and in France at that time, the situation of France was not good. The people, they were not happy with the monarchs. They were not happy with the kings and the queens. The kings and the queens, they used to suppress the common people, because there was a concentration of power. The king of France, Bourbon dynasty, king of France, queen of France, they were the lawmakers themselves, and they were also the law applier, that is executed governally. And if anybody was against the king, then they were arrested and they were sent to the jail. You have heard about guillotine also, they were sent to guillotine. That means they were killed. So that type of situation was there. And in the midst of this, there are some political philosophers who wanted that. This is not good. These are the systems which are against the will of the people. These are against the individual liberty. So this should be changed. त्यो प्रकारको विचारहरू राख्ने मान्छे थियो, त्यो मध्ये हामी देख्छौँ मोन्टेस्क्यू पनि हामी देख्छौँ हैन। सो उसले एउटा किताब लेखे, त्यो किताबमा द स्पिरिट अफ द ल, स्पिरिट अफ द लमा 1748 मा पब्लिस भएको थियो। उसले के भनेछ भने he had given expressed the idea of the theory of separation of power. Now, there was another important philosopher who also supported this theory, and he was Blackstone. Blackstone was from Great Britain, that is English scholar, and he was a jurist also. And he has also written a book. The name of the book is Commentaries on the Law of England. So Blackstone, an English jurist, he supported the idea expressed by Montesquieu, and he said that in his book, the Commentaries on the Law of England, in that book, he had expressed that when the king or queen run the administration, they have to think about the individual liberty, and for that purpose, the power must be separated. हैन पावर चाहिँ सेपरेट हुनुपर्छ एउटा मान्छेले सबै कुरो पायो भने के हुन्छ त्यो मान्छे पावरफुल हुन्छ अनि अन्याय गर्न सक्छ भन्ने त्यसै कारण चाहिँ के हुन्छ भने पावर सुड बी सेपरेट भन्ने कुरो गर्यो र यसरी चाहिँ now this has become a very important theory and in class 11 you have learned scope of political science हैन त्यसमा पढ्यो तिमीले the theory of separation of power is one of the important subject matter of political science and these were ideas were expressed by Montesquieu, Blackstone and other political philosophers. Now according to this theory, according to the theory of separation of power अनुसार चाहिँ के भन्दैछ भन्दाखेरि there are three organs of the government, legislature, executive and judiciary, and according to this theory, there must be distribution of power. Legislative power should be given to legislature, executive power given to executive, and the judiciary power should be given to the judiciary. I just want to give one example. If we take the example from India, we find Union Parliament is there, which is the Union Legislature, and it passes the law. Regarding all the subjects, in order to run the administration of these subjects, the Union Parliament passes the law. Number one. Number two is Union government is there under there's president as well as prime minister and ministers and even a large number of officers, and they collectively they are executive, and the law passed by the legislature, that the Union Parliament, is to be implemented by the Union executive. Then suppose there is any dispute regarding the implementation of the law, then there is judiciary. Supreme Court is there, so Supreme Court decides the cases. So there is distribution of power. That means according to the Constitution of India, the powers have been divided into legislature, executive and judicial. Three organs and three divisions of power there. And according to this theory, non-interference. One organ should not interfere in the functions of other. Legislature should not interfere in the functions of executive, as well as executive should not interfere with the functions of the judiciary. Vice versa हुन्छ नि है त्यसै प्रकारले जुडिसियरीले लेजिस्लेचरलाई पनि इन्टरफेयर गर्नु भएन. नन इन्टरफेरेन्स छ, नन इन्क्रोचमेन्ट. यु नो द मिनिङ इन्क्रोचमेन्ट, अरूको अधिकारलाई आफूले लिनु, हस्तक्षेप गर्नु, जबरजस्ती लिनु. जमिनको इन्क्रोचमेन्ट हुन्छ नि हैन, आफ्नो एरियादेखि अर्को पनि आफूपट्टि तान्छ. सो one organ should not encroach the authority, the power of or the rights of another organ. Non-superior. According to this theory, as the government has three organs, all the three organs are equal. No one is superior. कोही ठुलो कोही सानो भन्ने त्यो तीनटा अर्गनमा त्यस्तो चाहिँ छैन. अनि अर्को चाहिँ non-answerable to each other. What judiciary is doing? Judiciary is not answerable to the legislature. What legislature is doing? Legislature is not answerable to the judiciary or to the executive. So this is called non-answerable and independent of each other. Independent of each other. एकादुसामा चाहिँ के हुनु पर्यो उनीहरु इन्डिपेन्डेन्ट हुनु पर्यो र यसरी चाहिँ के दिने यो थ्योरी चाहिँ यो कुरो भन्छ. सो दिस इज द आइडिया थ्योरी अफ सेपरेसन अफ पावर. अब मोन्टेस्क्यूको भनाइ अनुसार पनि त्यही थियो. अकर्डिङ टु मोन्टेस्क्यू उसको भनाइ के छ भने देयर आर थ्री अर्गन्स इन द गभर्नमेन्ट. लेजिस्लेचर हैज टु परफर्म लेजिस्लेटिभ फंक्शन्स, executive has to perform executive functions, and judiciary has to perform executive functions. These three organs should not encroach, should not interfere, should not control the other. All are equal, and they have to, all the three organs, they have to perform their duties. So this is the idea of theory of separation of power that was expressed by Montesquieu and supported by a number of other political philosophers. So this is the idea. Now the question is, अलिकति भन्छु ल त्यहाँदेखि Montesquieu, while explaining the theory of separation of power, he had also related this theory with the theory of checks and balances. Theory of checks and balances. What does it mean? यसको मतलब के हो? Theory of checks and balances means as all the three organs are equal, so one should not interfere. So when all the three organs they perform the duty seriously, sincerely, without interfering, balance is there, and there should be, if any organ cross the boundary or begin to exercise the power which is not its own, that means interference and encroachment, then there must be check. हैन नानीहरुमा के हुन्छ कोही बेला के हुन्छ के काम दिएको हुन्छ उनीहरुलाई काम गर्दाखेरि अरूलाई पनि प्रभाव पारिरहेको हुन्छ हैन आफू भन्दा बेसी अरू पावर पनि खोजिरहेको हुन्छ त्यसमा चाहिँ के हुनु पर्यो चेक हुनु पर्छ हैन त्यस्तै प्रकारले चेक्स एन्ड बाउन्सेस theory of checks and balances mean one organ has to perform its duty at the same time also has to check that whether other two organs they are crossing their boundary or not, encroaching their power or not. So he related this theory with this. That means Montesquieu had also related the theory of separation of power with the theory of checks and balances also. Now this theory, as I have told you, the theory of separation of power, in theory it is very, very good. सुन्दाखेरि एकदमै दामी हो तीनजना मान्छे छ तीनजनाले आफ्नो आफ्नो काम गरिरहेको छ मजाले काम चलिरहेको छ भन्ने अनि यसमा चाहिँ के छ भने एउटा अर्गनले अर्को अर्गनलाई इन्टरफेयर गर्नु हुँदैन भन्ने कुरो पनि त्यहाँनिर छ अब यो चाहिँ प्र्याक्टिकल क्षेत्रमा हो भने चाहिँ कतिसम्म हुन सक्छ यो यसको विशेष द मेन पर्पज अफ द थ्योरी अफ सेपरेसन अफ पावर इज टु provide the people, is to give the opportunity to the people, especially the individual members, their personal liberty. उनीहरुको आफ्नो अधिकारदेखि चाहिँ हुनु भएन तर अब एक्चुअली प्र्याक्टिसमा हेर्दाखेरि चाहिँ we find a number of problems, a number of things which are against this theory of separation of power. Theory of separation of power at the time of implementation, it is not possible. A number of problems came to be. That's why the theory, though it sounds very good, but in actual practice, it has a number of defects. That's why many political philosophers have criticized it. So we find a number of criticisms against this theory. Okay, हामी अब के हेर्छौं अहिलेसम्म तिमीले बुझ्यौ क्रिटिसिजम तिमीले अहिलेसम्म आइडिया बुझ्यौ अनि आइडिया बुझेपछि अब यो थ्योरी चाहिँ प्र्याक्टिकली ठीक छ कि छैन त्यो हामीले हेर्नुको लागि चाहिँ अब धेरैजना पोलिटिकल फिलोसफरले यसको विषयमा के भनेछ त्यो हामी हेर्छौं अनि कतिवटा डिफेक्टहरु छ त्यो हामी हेर्नेछौं Okay, now we'll see the criticism against this theory. Why this theory is not acceptable? Many reasons are there. So, number one point is, the theory of separation of power cannot be implemented in reality. Modern time is, modern government has to face a lot of problems, and for that purpose, there must be close cooperation of all the people. So, if we apply the theory of separation of power, then we find that the three organs of the government, they have to work in a separate way. They have to work not in close cooperation. They have to do their own business only. हामीलाई थाहा छ नि एउटा कुनै पनि काम गर्दाखेरि a very important thing is there must be coordination. Suppose one responsibility is given to one person, then after the completion of that, he has to report, she has to report. Then only the second things can be done. And because of the lack of cooperation, there may be some problem in the society, even in the administration also. So here what we say, according to this theory, executive has to perform its own function, legislature, judiciary have to perform their own function. So in actual practice, this is not possible. So it cannot be implemented in reality. Number one, भयो. Number two मा देख्छौं हामी, government is an organic body. Government is just like the living human body, you know. As I have already told you, in human body you will find a number of organs. हाम्रो खुट्टा छ, हात छ, टाउको छ, यसले आफ्नो काम गर्छ. As they do their own work, but at the same time there is close cooperation among all the three organs. So similarly, the government is an organic body. Government has to work in a very systematic as well as in very close cooperation. I'll just give one example. Suppose one school is to be established, no? एउटा school खोल्नु पर्यो त्यहाँनिर. And the MP said, okay, now I'll open the school. But there must be fund. Fund must be supplied. And for that purpose, who is responsible? Finance Minister is responsible. MP as well as Finance Minister and the department, that is Education Department. And also the judiciary is also involved, because where the school is to be established, who is the owner of that particular plot of land, whether that is according to law or not, whether there is any cases against that in the cases there in that land or not. So just to do one single work, all the three organs, they should come together, then only the things can be done. So in this situation, how the government, three organs, they can work separately. So for the administration of the country, all the three organs should come forward, because the government is an organic body, living. It is just like a living organism, growing and growing. For that purpose, combination of all the organs should be there. अर्को हामी देख्छौं थर्डमा तीनजनालाई जिम्मा दियो भने के हुन्छ भने ओभरल्यापिङ फंक्सन पनि हुन्छ. कोही बेला एउटै काम अर्कोले पनि गरिरहेको हुन्छ, उनीहरूको एकादुसरामा कनेक्सन नहुँदाखेरि. So if the powers are divided, if the functions are divided, there is the possibility of overlapping also. Same work can be done by the three organs also, or two organs also. This is possible because of the separation of power. And fourth is creates deadlock. एउटा म भन्छु है, के भन्छ भन्दाखेरि तीनजना मान्छेले काम गर्दाखेरि आफूले काम गर्छ, त्यसको बादमा अर्को मान्छेले के गर्दैछ को उसमा राखेन भने के हुन्छ भने उसले गर्छ भनेर भन्दाखेरि जुन चाहिँ काम हुनुपर्ने त्यो चाहिँ हुँदैन, डेडलक हुन्छ. चेस खेल्दाखेरि चेकमेट भएको जस्तो नि हैन, मुभमेन्टै हुँदैन हैन. त्यसै त्यो कुवाको पानीमा त्यो नबग्ने पानीमा बसिरहेको जस्तो हुन्छ, त्यो अगाडि नै बढ्दैन. र यदि if the three powers are separated and if the three organs they are to work independently without any close cooperation, then the work cannot be done. There will be obstacle, there will be deadlock, the work will be stopped. त्यसै कारण चाहिँ के भने यो theory of separation of power यदि इम्प्लिमेन्ट गरियो यो के हुन्छ, it creates deadlock. Okay, now हामी जान्छौं यो 6th point मा. According to this theory, the criticism मा non-applicable in welfare state. I just want to explain welfare state. A welfare state is a state where the government is always in favor of the welfare of the people. For the development of the people, मान्छेको उन्नतिको लागि चाहिँ the government must come forward, हैन, whenever there is any problem. As for example, अहिलेको जुन चाहिँ वर्तमान परिस्थितिमा छ, COVID-19 को कारणले है लकडाउन भइरहेको छ, and the government is taking a lot of steps. The government is doing a lot in order to help the people. So in this type of situation, if the three organs they remain separated and they talk about their own power, then the problem of the people cannot be solved. So, in the welfare state, welfare society, where the government's main purpose, main intention, main aim should be the welfare of the people. In such case, all the three organs should come forward, come in close cooperation among the three organs. So, त्यस्तो बेलामा पनि के भन्दैन, the theory is not applicable. Next हामी देख्छौँ all organs not of equal power. According to separation power, according to Montesquieu, the theory of separation of power, in this theory, all power, legislative, executive, and the judiciary, all three organs should be equal. But if we see, we find that in many countries, in different times, what we find, all the three organs are not equal. Sometimes we find the executive is more powerful. Sometimes we find, sometimes the judiciary is also more powerful, and even the legislature also more powerful. So the idea of the theory of power, according to which all the three organs are equal, actually, in actual practice, the three organs are not equal. So if the three organs are not equal, then the theory of separation of power cannot be implemented. अर्को हामी देख्छौँ, one organ has to perform other functions also. Sometimes one organ has to perform the functions of his own at the same time, plus other functions also. I'll give one example. The President of India, he is the head of the Union Executive. He belongs to executive organ, but he is given one right, power, that is the promulgation of ordinance. When the parliament is not in session, and if there is situation, such a situation where there should be a new law in order to control, in order to manage the situation, then the President of India, being the executive head, he can promulgate or pass the ordinance. That means ordinance making means it is the law making function. And if you see, then we find this belong to the legislature. But the executive is performing this legislative function also. Similarly, in other things also what we find, in many cases, one organ has to perform the other functions of others also. त्यसमा हो भने चाहिँ this यो जुन चाहिँ छ, according to this, as one organ has to perform other functions, so the theory of separation of power is not implemented. अनि अर्को हामी देख्छौँ, separation of power not essential for liberty. Why many political philosophers, they have given emphasis on the separation of power. The main purpose is to provide justice, to let the people to enjoy the liberty. उनीहरूलाई individual liberty उनीहरूले पाओस्, individual freedom enjoy गर्नु पाओस् भनेर नै यो theory of separation of power चाहिँ emphasis गरिएको. तर हामी पाउँछौँ, even many countries in the world where, in almost all countries in the world today, what we find, though the theory is there, but in actual practice, the theory is not implemented. In spite of that also, the people, they are enjoying individual liberty. They are enjoying individual liberty. It is said that if there is no separation of power, if all the organs are concentrated, then the people may not get the liberty. But nowadays we find in almost all countries, in 100%, this theory is not applicable. त्यसको मतलब चाहिँ के भने, theory of separation of power implement नहुँदा पनि मान्छेले individual liberty चाहिँ enjoy गर्नु पाउँछ भनेपछि यो theory नहुँदा पनि हुन्छ भने. So these are the criticism. र according to this criticism, all these criticism, the political philosophers, they express on the basis of the practical situation of the administration, practical administration, etc. So the theory, after going through this criticism expressed by or criticized by a number of people, number of political philosophers, we find that in actual practice, the theory of separation of power is not acceptable. अब हामी यहाँनिर के हेर्छौँ भन्दाखेरि यो theory of separation of powerलाई criticismहरु हेरिसकेपछि what we find कि as theory it is okay, but in practically this theory is not applied. त्यसको मतलब चाहिँ in many cases the theory has been rejected. अब यसमा प्रश्न आउँछ त्यसको मतलब चाहिँ के हो? That means the theory has no value. Theory has no importance. That means the theory is totally rejected. अब यसमा हामी हुन्छ no, the theory is not totally rejected. The thing is, the most important thing is this theory has made liberty, the individual freedom of an individual citizen, very important issue in political science or in the political field. Most important thing, liberty. If the individual people are not given liberty, then there is no possibility of the development of the society, development of the country. So this theory has given importance to this idea, that is the issue of liberty. That is the most important contribution of the theory of separation of power. Okay, so now I want to give one homework to you. You just write one homework, and in your quarantine, in your home, you are in quarantine, so you do this homework. The theory of separation of power is neither feasible nor desirable. Discuss. Your homework is the theory of separation of power is neither feasible, possible पनि छैन अनि नट डिजायरेबल, चाहिएको पनि टोटली डिफरेन्ट बस्नु भनेको पनि होइन र त्यो भनेलाई तिमीले डिस्कस गर एन्ड इट क्यारी 8 marks according to the syllabus or the instruction given by the West Bengal Council of Higher Secondary Education. This type of question is given or allotted 8 marks. So you just try to answer this question. The theory of separation of power is neither feasible or not desirable. With this, we are in the end of this class, that is the political science first class. Okay, next time we'll see.
Hello everyone, this is Yuvraj Chhetri from ASM Institution Kalimpong र आज म क्लास 12 को म्याथमेटिक्स सुरु गर्न लागिरहेको छु। त्यो सुरु गर्नुभन्दा अगाडि चाहिँ म चाहिँ क्लास 11 को अलिकति डेरिभेटिभ्स को अलिकति फर्मुला म डिल गर्छु र त्यो डेरिभेटिभ को फर्मुला चाहिँ नानीहरुले अलिकति राम्ररी हेर्दिने। त्यो 11 को डेरिभेटिभ को फर्मुला सकेपछि चाहिँ हामी फेरि क्लास 12 मा आउने छौं। सो पहिला डेरिभेटिभ गर्नु अगाडि formula number 1, if y is equals to x to the power n, if y is equals to x to the power n, then dy by dx is equals to d by dx of x to the power n. र फर्मुलाले चाहिँ के भन्छ, फर्स्ट फर्मुला गर्दैछौं, डेरिभेटिभ अफ x to the power n is equals to n x to the power n minus 1. So derivative of x to the power n is n x to the power n minus 1. Example पनि म दिदैछु. If y is equals to x to the power 5, then dy by dx is equals to d by dx of x to the power 5. So के हुँदो रहेछ भन्दा 5 चाहिँ अगाडि आउँदो रहेछ, 5 र x को एउटा पावर चाहिँ गर्दो रहेछ. So 5 minus 1, that is 5x to the power 4. So derivative of x to the power 5 with respect to x is 5x to the power 4. अझ एउटा example, y is equals to x to the power 3 by 2, then dy by dx is equals to d by dx of x to the power 3 by 2. त्यही हो प्रोसेस. 3 by 2 अगाडि आउँछ, 3 by 2 र 3 by 2 बाट एक पावरबाट माइनस हुन्छ गर्दाखेरि 3 by 2 minus 1. So it will be 3 by 2 x to the power LCM 2 हुन्छ 3 minus 2. So it will be 3 by 2 x to the power 1 by 2. So x to the power, so derivative of x to the power 3 by 2 को derivative रहेछ 3 by 2 x to the power half. So your first formula फेरि भन्दैछु, y is equals to x to the power n, then dy by dx is equals to d by dx of x to the power n. n अगाडि आउँछ अनि x बाट एउटा पावर घट्दाखेरि n minus 1 हुन्छ. यो कसरी आयो भन्दा यो हामीले 11 मा फ्रम द फर्स्ट प्रिन्सिपल गरिसकेका छौँ. डेरिभेटिभ फ्रम द फर्स्ट प्रिन्सिपलबाट हामीले यो गरिसकेको छौँ. Formula number 2. If y is equals to e to the power x, then dy by dx is equals to d by dx of e to the power x. So derivative of e to the power x is e to the power x itself. So derivative and integration of e to the power x हुन्छ. यो कसरी आयो भन्दा फ्रम क्लास 11 मा हामीले फ्रम फर्स्ट प्रिन्सिपल गरिसकेको छौँ. यो नम्बर 2 भयो. यसको इक्जाम्पल छैन. नम्बर 3, y is equals to a to the power x, then dy by dx is equal to d by dx of a to the power x. So derivative of a to the power x with respect to x is a to the power x into log a to the base e. So derivative of a to the power x with respect to x is a to the power x into log a to the base e. So example, y is equal to 2 to the power x. So a चाहिँ भयो 2, x x छ. So dy by dx is equals to d by dx of 2 to the power x. So formula ले भन्छ 2 to the power x हुनु पर्यो into log 2 to the base e. So 2 to the power x into log 2 to the base e. अझै एउटा example, y is equals to 5 to the power x. So compare गर्दा a चाहिँ 5 छ, x x छ. So dy by dx is equals to d by dx of 5 to the power x. So derivative of a to the power x into log a to the base e हुन्छ भने 5 to the power x को derivative 5 to the power x into log 5 to the base e. Now formula number 4, if y is equals to log of x, then dy by dx is equals to d by dx of log x. So derivative of log x with respect to x is 1 by x. So derivative log x with respect to x is 1 by x. यसको पनि इक्जाम्पल छैन. कसरी आयो मैले अघिदेखि बारम्बार भनिरहेको छु, फ्रम द फर्स्ट प्रिन्सिपल जो हामीले क्लास 11 मा गरिसकेको छौँ. फर्मुला नम्बर 5, y is equals to k, where k is constant. Y is equals to k, where k is constant, that means free from x, free from variable. Then dy by dx is equals to d by dx of constant. So derivative of constant function is always 0. So derivative constant function is 0. Example, y is equals to 5. So dy by dx is equals to d by dx of 5. So derivative constant is 0 because 5 is free from x. Formula number 6, y is equals to x. Y is equals to x. Then dy by dx is equals to d by dx of x. Derivative of x with respect to x is 1. So derivative of x with respect to x is 1. So this is formula number 6. Formula number 7, y is equals to constant into x. Y is equal to constant into x. So dy by dx is equals to d by dx of k into x. K being constant बाहिर आउँछ. बाहिर आउँदाखेरि डी बाई डिएक्स अफ एक्स हुन्छ भर्खरै गरिहालौँ डेरिभेटिभ एक्स विथ रेस्पेक्ट एक्स 1 हो सो के इन्टु 1 हुँदाखेरि इज इक्वल्स टु कति हुन्छ के सो डेरिभेटिभ अफ कन्स्ट्यान्ट इन्टु एक्स इज कन्स्ट्यान्ट यसको एउटा इक्जाम्पल y is equal to 6x so dy by dx is equals to d by dx of 6x 6 constant भएको कारणले बाहिर आउँछ बाहिर आउँदा 6 into d by dx of x so 6 into derivative x with respect to x 1 हुनाले 1 हुन्छ 6 1 जा 6 so derivative of 6x is 6 अझै एउटा इक्जाम्पल y is equals to 10x cube then dy by dx is equals to d by dx of 10 into x cube 10 constant भएको कारणले बाहिर आउँछ बाहिर आउँदा बस्छ d by dx of x cube र फर्स्ट फर्मुला x to the power n फर्मुलाले के भन्छ n x to the power n minus 1 सो यो हुन्छ हाम्रो 10 into 3 into x to the power 3 minus 1 3 into x to the power 3 minus 1 so 10 into 3 into x square 10 into 3 330 into x square 30x square so derivative of 10x cube is 30x square डेरिभेटिभ अब हामी गर्छौं डेरिभेटिभ अफ ट्रिगोनोमेट्रिक फंक्शन ट्रिगोनोमेट्रिक फंक्शन को साइन कोसाइन टेन्जेन्ट कोटेन्जेन्ट सेकेन्ड कोसेकेन्ड सो नंबर 8 y is equals to sin x then dy by dx is equals to d by dx of sin x derivative of sin x with respect to x is cos x so derivative sin x with respect to x is cos x. Formula number 9. Y is equals to cos x. Then dy by dx is equals to d by dx of cos x. Derivative of cos x with respect to x is minus sin x. So derivative cos x with respect to x is minus cos x. So derivative sin x is cos x and derivative cos x is minus sin x. Formula number 10. Y is equals to sec x. dy by dx is equals to d by dx of sec x. Derivative of sec x with respect to x is sec x tan x. Sec x tan x. Sec x into tan x. Number यो फर्मुला नंबर 10 भयो फर्मुला नंबर 11 y is equals to tan x जब y is a function of tan x भयो भने डेरिभेटिभ कति हुन्छ भन्दा dy by dx is equals to d by dx of tan x derivative of tan x with respect to x is sec square x so derivative tan x with respect to x is sec square x formula number 12 y is equals to cosec x y is equals to cosec x so त्यसबाट डेरिभेटिभ कति हुन्छ हेर्दै जाउँ dy by dx is equals to d by dx of cosec x derivative of cosec x with respect to x is minus cosec x cot x minus cosec x cot x is the derivative of cosec x formula number 13 y is equals to cot x so dy by dx is equals to d by dx of cot x derivative of cot x with respect to x is minus cosec square x so derivative cot x with respect to x is minus cosec square x so far we have done derivative of in trigonometric function first y is equal to sin x हुँदाखेरि डेरिभेटिभ हुन्छ cos x को डेरिभेटिभ minus sin x sec x को डेरिभेटिभ sec x tan x को डेरिभेटिभ sec square x cosec x को डेरिभेटिभ minus cosec x cot x र cot x को डेरिभेटिभ minus cosec square x सो यहाँ इम्पोर्टेन्ट कुरा के छ भने cc बाट सुरु भएको c जस्तै cos x, cosec x र cot x उनीहरूको डेरिभेटिभ चाहिँ के हुँदैछ नेगेटिभ हुँदैछ त्यो कुरा याद गर्नु पर्यो डेरिभेटिभ cos x minus sin x डेरिभेटिभ cosec x minus cosec x cot x र डेरिभेटिभ अफ cot x minus cosec square x Now we are doing derivative of inverse circular function. Inverse circular function चाहिँ को हो भन्दा sin inverse x, tan inverse x, cot inverse x, cosec inverse x, sec inverse x हरू चाहिँ इत्यादि चाहिँ इन्भर्स सर्कुलर फंक्शन हो सो हामी यसको डेरिभेटिभ कति हुन्छ त्यो हेर्दै जाउँ नम्बर 1 इन्भर्स सर्कुलर फंक्शन को नम्बर 1 y is equals to sin inverse x y is equals to sin inverse x हुँदाखेरि डेरिभेटिभ dy by dx is equals to d by dx of sin inverse x. So derivative of sin inverse x with respect to x हुँदो रहेछ 1 upon under root 1 minus x square. So derivative of sin inverse x is 1 upon under root 1 minus x square. Number 2, y is equals to cos inverse x. So dy by dx is equals to d by dx of cos inverse x. So derivative of cos inverse x with respect to x हुँदो रहेछ minus 1 by under root 1 minus x square. यो र यो फर्मुलामा अलि प्लस र माइनसको डिफरेन्सेस छ. Number 3, y is equals to tan inverse x. So dy by dx is equals to d by dx of tan inverse x. Derivative of tan inverse x with respect to x is 1 by 1 plus x square. 1 by 1 plus x square is the derivative of tan inverse x. Number 4, y is equals to cot inverse x. So dy by dx is equals to d by dx of cot inverse x. Cot inverse x को derivative with respect to x minus 1 by 1 plus x square. फेरि भन्दैछु derivative cot inverse x minus 1 by 1 plus x square. tan inverse x र cot inverse x मा प्लस र माइनस को मात्रै फरक छ. Number 5, y is equals to sec inverse x. Y is equal to sec inverse x हुँदाखेरि dy by dx is equals to d by dx of sec inverse x. Sec inverse x को derivative with respect to x is 1 by x under root x square minus 1. So derivative sec inverse x is 1 by x under root x square minus 1. And number 6, inverse circular function को y is equal to cosec inverse x. So dy by dx is equals to d by dx of cosec inverse x. Derivative of cosec inverse x with respect to x is minus 1 by x under root x square minus 1. So derivative sec inverse x र cos inverse x मा पनि प्लस र माइनस कै फरक छ. Now we are doing product formula. जस्तै y is a function of product of two functions. Say example, y is equals to first function into second function, or you may take y is equals to u into v, where u and v are the function of x. भन्नुको मतलब u sin x हुन सक्छ, v tan inverse x हुन सक्छ, u e to the power x हुन सक्छ, v a to the power x हुन सक्छ. त्यति बेला product formula ले के भन्छ यसो भन्दाखेरि dy by dx is equals to d by dx of first into second. भन्नुको मतलब derivative first function into second function को formula रहेछ. First function will remain as it is. We have to find out the derivative of second function. Derivative of second function. फेरि second function त्यतिकै बस्छ. We have to find out the derivative of only first function. So formula रहेछ first function into derivative of second function plus second function into derivative of first function, or u र v ले u र v चाहिँ हामीले भनिहाले function of यो के हो x हो. भन्नुमा u र v मा चाहिँ x हरू छ भनेको. त्यति बेला derivative dy by dx is equals to d by dx of u into v. भन्नुको मतलब first function u त्यतिकै बस्छ into derivative of v. फेरि v त्यतिकै बस्छ into derivative of u. That means u into derivative v plus v into derivative u. सीधा हिसाबले भन्दा first function into derivative second function plus second function into derivative of first function. यसको example दिउँ. से फर इक्जाम्पल y इज इक्वल टु x इन्टु tan x अरे यो भयो हाम्रो फर्स्ट फङ्सन, यो भयो हाम्रो सेकेन्ड फङ्सन। एउटा इक्जाम्पल हो y इज इक्वल टु x इन्टु tan x अरे। सो dy बाई dx इज इक्वल्स टु d बाई dx अफ x इन्टु tan x। हाम्रो x अहिले फर्स्ट फङ्सन बसिरहेछ, tan x लाई फर्स्ट फङ्सन माग्दा पनि केही पनि हुँदैन र अहिले चाहिँ tan x चाहिँ सेकेन्ड फङ्सन मानिरहेछ। फर्मुलाले के भन्छ, फर्स्ट फङ्सन त्यतिकै बस्छ, डेरिभेटिभ अफ हामीले के निकाल्नुपर्छ tan x, फेरि tan x त्यतिकै बस्छ, द्याट मिन्स सेकेन्ड फङ्सन त्यतिकै बस्छ, हामीले निकाल्नुपर्छ डेरिभेटिभ फर्स्ट फङ्सन। सो x त्यतिकै बस्यो, अघि पढिसक्यौँ डेरिभेटिभ अफ tan x सेक स्क्वायर x, यो डल्लै चिज हाम्रो भयो सेक स्क्वायर x, फेरि tan x त्यतिकै बस्छ, अघि हामीले फर्मुलामा गरिसकेका छौँ डेरिभेटिभ x विथ रेस्पेक्ट टु x कति हुन्छ 1। सो डेरिभेटिभ x इन्टु tan x चाहिँ कति हुँदो रहेछ, x सेक स्क्वायर x प्लस tan x चाहिँ हाम्रो प्रडक्ट फर्मुलाले डेरिभेटिभ x tan x। त्यस्तै एउटा इक्जाम्पल दिउँ, y इज इक्वल्स टु e टु द पावर x इन्टु लग x अरे यो भयो हाम्रो फर्स्ट फङ्सन, यो भयो हाम्रो सेकेन्ड फङ्सन। फर्मुलाले के भन्छ, फर्स्ट फङ्सन इन्टु डेरिभेटिभ अफ सेकेन्ड फङ्सन प्लस सेकेन्ड फङ्सन इन्टु डेरिभेटिभ अफ फर्स्ट फङ्सन। सो यो कति हुन्छ भन्दा dy बाई dx इज इक्वल टु d बाई dx अफ e टु द पावर x इन्टु लग x। सो फर्स्ट फङ्सन हाम्रो e टु द पावर x त्यतिकै बस्छ, वी हेभ टु फाइन्ड आउट द डेरिभेटिभ अफ लग x, फेरि लग x त्यतिकै बस्छ, we have to find out the derivative of e to the power x, that means first function into derivative second function plus second function into derivative first function। त्यसै कारण फर्मुला चाहिँ याद हुनुपर्छ, log x को डेरिभेटिभ विथ रेस्पेक्ट टु x 1/x प्लस log x त्यतिकै बस्यो, डेरिभेटिभ अफ e to the power x विथ रेस्पेक्ट टु x अघि हामीले भनिसकेका छौँ कति हुन्छ e to the power x। सो दुईटाबाट कमन हामीले निकाल्छौँ, e to the power x बस्छ 1/x प्लस log x इज द डेरिभेटिभ अफ e to the power x इन्टु log x। अब त्यो प्रडक्ट फर्मुला अझै बढाउँदा, सपोज y इज अ फङ्सन अफ थ्री डिफ्रेन्ट फङ्सन। फर इक्जाम्पल y इज इक्वल टु फर्स्ट फङ्सन इन्टु सेकेन्ड फङ्सन इन्टु थर्ड फङ्सन छ अरे, बेग्लै बेग्लै फङ्सन। जस्तै यो सपोज e टु द पावर x हुनसक्छ, यो tan x हुनसक्छ, यो हाम्रो अब log x हुनसक्छ। सो डिफ्रेन्ट फङ्सन, यो एक्सपोनेन्सियल फङ्सन, यो ट्रिगोनोमेट्रिक फङ्सन, यो लग्रिथम हो। त्यति बेला चाहिँ फर्मुला कस्तो हुँदो रहेछ भन्दाखेरि dy बाई dx इज इक्वल्स टु d बाई dx अफ फर्स्ट इन्टु सेकेन्ड इन्टु थर्ड गर्दाखेरि फर्स्ट र सेकेन्ड फङ्सन त्यतिकै बस्दो रहेछ, डेरिभेटिभ अफ थर्ड फङ्सन हुँदो रहेछ प्लस फेरि फर्स्ट र थर्ड त्यतिकै बस्दो रहेछ, फेरि डेरिभेटिभ अफ को हुँदो रहेछ सेकेन्ड फङ्सन, फेरि सेकेन्ड र थर्ड फङ्सन त्यतिकै बसेर डेरिभेटिभ अफ फर्स्ट फङ्सन हुँदो रहेछ। लाटा यसोले भन्नु एकताल चाहिँ डेरिभेटिभ हामीले गर्नु पर्दो रहेछ, मतलब y इज अ फङ्सन अफ थ्री डिफ्रेन्ट फङ्सन छ भने e टु द पावर x tan x छ भने हामीले प्रडक्ट फर्ममा के हुन्छखेरि फर्स्ट र सेकेन्ड फङ्सन त्यतिकै बस्छ, डेरिभेटिभ थर्ड हुन्छ, फेरि फर्स्ट र थर्ड त्यतिकै बस्छ, डेरिभेटिभ अफ सेकेन्ड हुन्छ, फेरि सेकेन्ड र थर्ड त्यतिकै बस्छ, डेरिभेटिभ अफ फर्स्ट हुन्छ। म यसको एउटा इक्जाम्पल पनि दिइहाल्छु। यही अहिलेको इक्जाम्पल लिउँ, y इज इक्वल टु e टु द पावर x tan x log x अरे, यो फर्स्ट, यो सेकेन्ड एन्ड थर्ड। सो थ्री डिफ्रेन्ट फङ्सन, यो एक्सपोनेन्सियल फङ्सन, यो ट्रिगोनोमेट्रिक फङ्सन, यो लग्रिथम फङ्सन। त्यति बेला dy बाई dx इज इक्वल्स टु d बाई dx अफ e टु द पावर x इन्टु tan x इन्टु log x। फर्स्ट सेकेन्ड थर्ड फङ्सन छुट्याइसकेपछि हामीले डेरिभेटिभ गर्नु पर्यो, फर्स्ट र सेकेन्ड त्यतिकै बस्छ, e टु द पावर x र tan x त्यतिकै बस्छ, डेरिभेटिभ अफ को हुन्छ थर्ड फङ्सन द्याट इज log x, फेरि फर्स्ट र थर्ड त्यतिकै बस्छ, डेरिभेटिभ अफ सेकेन्ड फङ्सन द्याट इज tan x, फेरि सेकेन्ड र थर्ड tan x अनि log x त्यतिकै बस्छ, डेरिभेटिभ अफ को हुनु पर्यो फर्स्ट फङ्सन। सो फर्स्ट र सेकेन्ड त्यतिकै बस्छ, डेरिभेटिभ थर्ड प्लस के अरे फर्स्ट र थर्ड त्यतिकै बस्छ, डेरिभेटिभ सेकेन्ड अनि सेकेन्ड र थर्ड त्यतिकै बस्छ, डेरिभेटिभ अफ फर्स्ट हुन्छ। अब फर्मुला त चाहियो e to the power x tan x डेरिभेटिभ log x 1/x अघि पढिसकेका छौँ e to the power x log x डेरिभेटिभ अफ tan x अघि पढिसकेका छौँ हामीले sec square x र tan x र log x त्यतिकै बसिन्छ डेरिभेटिभ अफ e to the power x हामीले गरिसकेका छौँ e to the power x सो कमन हामी निकाल्दियौँ e to the power x निकाल्दाखेरि tan x upon x plus log x into sec square x plus tan x into log x is the derivative of e to the power x tan x and log x. Now we are doing quotient formula y is equals to numerator upon denominator or y is equal to u upon b where u and b are the function of x. त्यति बेला के हुँदो रहेछ डेरिभेटिभ dy by dx is equals to d by dx of numerator upon. So formula चाहिँ के हुँदो रहेछ भने denominator into derivative of numerator minus numerator into derivative of denominator upon denominator को स्क्वायर भन्दाखेरि डिनोमिनेटर इन्टु डेरिभेटिभ अफ न्युमरेटर माइनस न्युमरेटर इन्टु डेरिभेटिभ अफ डिनोमिनेटर डिभाइडेड बाई डिनोमिनेटरको स्क्वायर. नाउ यु अपन बी वेयर यु एन्ड बी आर द फङ्सन अफ एक्स त्यति बेला के हुँदो रहेछ भन्दाखेरि डिवाई बाई डिएक्स इज इक्वल्स टु डी बाई डिएक्स अफ यु बाई भी v into derivative of u minus u into derivative of v upon b square with respect to x derivative. एउटा example दिइहालौँ y is equals to x upon tan x अरे यो numerator यो denominator. So dy by dx is equals to d by dx of x upon tan x. So x चाहिँ हाम्रो numerator हो tan x चाहिँ हाम्रो denominator. फर्मुलाले के भन्छ भन्दाखेरि denominator that is tan x into derivative of numerator चाहिँ हाम्रो x minus numerator x into derivative of denominator हाम्रो tan x whole divided by tan x को square. So भयो हाम्रो tan x त्यतिकै बस्छ derivative of x with respect to x is 1 x त्यतिकै बस्यो derivative tan x with respect to x sec square x upon tan square x. So यसलाई सिम्प्लिफाई गर्दाखेरि dy by dx will be tan x minus x sec square x divided by tan square x is the derivative of x upon tan x. अझै एउटा इक्जाम्पल दिउँ y is equals to 2 to the power x 2 to the power x upon e to the power x. So numerator हो हाम्रो 2 to the power x denominator हो हाम्रो e to the power x. So डेरिभेटिभ निकाल्दाखेरि dy by dx is equals to d by dx of 2 to the power x upon e to the power x. फर्मुलाले भन्छ denominator that is e to the power x into derivative of numerator that is 2 to the power x minus numerator 2 to the power x into derivative of denominator e to the power x upon e to the power x whole square. So e to the power x will remain as it is. Derivative of 2 to the power x 2 to the power x into log 2 to the base e minus 2 to the power x त्यतिकै बस्छ e to the power x को डेरिभेटिभ e to the power x whole divided by power multiply हुँदाखेरि e to the power 2x. So माथिबाट कमन e to the power x अनि 2 to the power x कमन निक्लिँदा भित्र बस्यो log 2 to the base e minus 1 divided by e to the power 2x. यो e to the power x र 2x एक एकवटा पावर काटिँदाखेरि 2 to the power x into log 2 to the base e minus 1 divided by e to the power x चाहिँ हाम्रो रहेछ डेरिभेटिभ अफ 2 to the power x upon e to the power x. र म नानीहरूलाई के बिन्ती गर्न चाहन्छु भने यो फर्मुला चाहिँ राम्ररी हेरिदिने र नेक्स्ट क्लासमा हामी क्लास 12 को सुरु गर्नेछौँ. थ्याङ्क यू.
Hello students, I am Siddharth Thapa. I am a teacher from Kumdini Homes. I will be teaching today costing and taxation. I will start with costing. The first unit we'll be dealing today is cost of materials. In this chapter, you will learn how to prepare stores ledger under different methods of pricing issues. So, let me first start with the introduction. Regarding materials, as you know, a business, a manufacturing business, has to take into consideration the cost of production and along with it the cost of materials. So, in order to minimize the cost of production, proper control has to be made regarding materials. So, control of materials is simply the control of purchasing, issuing and using of materials. So, as you know, there are three major departments in a manufacturing concern. One is the purchasing department, another is the stores department and another production department. So, what the stores department does, it places requisition for goods to the purchase department and it supplies or issues these materials to the production department. What the stores receives from the purchasing department according to its requisition are considered as receipts, and what it supplies to the production department or jobs is called issues. So, generally the stores plays a major role regarding materials. It receives materials from the purchasing departments and issues those materials to the production department. The stores department, the head of the stores department is the storekeeper. The storekeeper, what he does, he has to make a proper record of these goods. So, he usually stores these goods in a storage space that is called a bin, and alongside the bin, he annexes a bin card. So, student, you have to know what a bin card is. It is a record of all the receipts made from the purchasing department and issues made to the production department or jobs. So, basically it is a record of issues and receipts of materials in its quantitative form only. Again, the costing department prepares another ledger called the stores ledger. It is similar to a bin card, but the stores ledger not only records the quantity of the materials issued and received, but also its monetary value. So, the basic difference between a bin card and stores ledger is that bin card is prepared by the storekeeper, whereas the stores ledger is prepared by the costing department. So, we were just learning what a bin card and stores ledger was. The difference between bin card and ledger was bin card is prepared by the storekeeper, whereas stores ledger is prepared by the costing department. Again, the bin card records only the quantity of materials issued and received, but a stores ledger records both the quantity as well as the monetary value of the materials received and issued. Now, the next part, I will show you how a stores ledger is prepared. So, let's see the pro forma. of a stores ledger, you have the date column, you have the receipt column, you have the issues column, and you have the column for balance. Again, the receipt column is divided into three parts. First is the rate, another is the quantity, and another is the total amount. Again, for issues, three columns. First is the rate, second quantity, and third the total column. And for the balance, rate, quantity, and total. So, a stores ledger is also maintained on a chronically manner. This column, receipt, it is recorded the amount received from the purchasing department, the quantity, the rate, and the total. The issues column records the amount issued to the production department or jobs, the rate of such issue, the quantity, and its total, and the total balance remaining at the end of the day. But regarding issues, you have to consider the rate at which the materials are being issued, because most of the times when the purchasing department procures goods from the market, they procure it at different rates. Suppose I say, first certain date, stores department receives 500 items of certain goods at the rate of rupees 5. So total is 2500. Next day, the same department will procure the same material, suppose let's say 600 materials, for rupees 4 or say rupees 6. So the rate at which the materials are procured may be different. So while issuing it, at what rate will the stores department issue it to the jobs? So another factor comes into consideration. So there are different methods of pricing issues. There are different methods of pricing issues, but for class 12, you have to learn only 4 methods. The first being FIFO method, FIFO. Its full form is first in, first out method. Number 2 is the LIFO method. LIFO method means last in, first out method. Then you have the simple average method, and number 4 weighted average method. So here are the 4 methods of pricing issues: FIFO, LIFO, simple average method, and weighted average method. So first we'll start with FIFO method, or first in first out method. Under this method, issues to the jobs are made out of those materials which has been procured earlier, or the materials which has been received beforehand. So under this method, certain advantages are derived. Like for example, the main advantage is it's simple in application as well as in theory. Secondly, this FIFO method is very advantageous when the prices of materials are falling constantly, or the prices of materials are decreasing constantly. Thirdly, in this method, the closing stock is valued at the current market price. So, under this method, various costing departments or various manufacturing concerns, they prefer FIFO method. But it also has certain disadvantages, like it is advantageous for falling prices, decreasing prices, but if the prices are constantly increasing, it faces a disadvantage, because if prices are increasing, the earlier stocks are cleared off and the later stocks, which are high, which are expensive, these remains in the closing stock. So the value of the closing stock increases. When the value of closing stock increases, naturally the profit shown by the concern also inflates. So there is most probably there is a danger of being capital drained out of the business. Now we will first solve a problem under FIFO method. The question is here. Now you look at the question. There is already an opening balance of 1000 kg at the rate of rupees 30. And again, certain issues are being made and certain receipts are also being made. So you can look at the question. So first we try to solve it in under FIFO method. Like I had already shown you, date, receipts, issues, and balance. So first, under FIFO method, we are preparing our stores ledger from that question. So first you write the year 2002, month is January, and the opening balance shown is on 2nd of January. On the 2nd of January, the opening balance was 1000 kg, quantity 1000, and the rate was 30. That means a total of 30,000 rupees. Next date, 3rd, issue has been made of 140 kg. So, issued 140 kg. Since there was only one available batch of rupees 30, the rate will also be rupees 30. So, multiply it with 140, you get 4,200. 4,200. So out of issue, there was only one batch. So it is being issued from here. Rate is 30, 140 units, or total was 4,200 rupees. So at the end of the day, out of 1,000 units, 140 units were issued. So the remaining 860 units, 1,000 minus 140, 860 of 30 each is 25,800 rupees. Now again, the next date, 4th, another issue is also being made of 200 kgs. Since there is only one batch, 30 of 30 rupees each, the rate you will quote will be 30. 30 into 200 is 6,000. So at the end of the day, again out of 860 units, 200 were issued. There's remaining 660 units of rupees 30 each. It amounts to 19,800. Next date, 8th of January. Again another issue is being made of 160 units. Since there is only one batch available, the rate you will quote is 30 rupees. So 30 into 160 amounts to 4,800. So the balance remaining will be, out of 660 units, 160 were issued. Remaining is 500 units of rupees 30, which amounts to 15,000 rupees. Now, on 13th, received from vendor 400 units at the rate of 35. On 13th, you will record the receipt from vendor or purchase from vendor at the receipt column. So it has received 400 units of rupees 35. So 35 into 400 is 14,000. So you must remember how to quote this in the balance column. In the balance column, you already have 500 units of 30 each, totaling 15,000, and what we have received today of 35 rupees, 400 units amounting to rupees 14,000. So the balance remaining today, we have two batches, 500 units of 30 rupees and 400 units of rupees 35. On 15th, return from surplus from a work order, rupees 30 kg of rupees 28 each. That means sometimes out of the issues made by the stores department to the jobs, some jobs may return some of the materials to the stores again. So these goods returned from the jobs to the stores will be treated as receipts. So we record the return from work order of 28 rupees, 30 units, total 840 rupees. We will balance this at the end of the day. So at the end of the day, there are 500 units of previous batches totaling 15,000, 35 rupees of 400 units amounting to 14,000, and you will treat this received or returned from the work order as a new receipt of 28 rupees 840. So at the end of 15th, there are 3 batches of materials. One 30 units, 30 rupees per unit, 35 rupees per unit and 28 rupees per unit. Now, on the 16th, issue is being made of 360 units. So, we have 3 batches. We have to issue it from among these 3 batches. So, under FIFO method, first in, first out, that means which we have received earliest, issue must be made from that batch. So, the earliest is the batch comprising of rupees 30 each. So, issues will be made from this batch only. Since they are issuing 360 units, out of that 360 units are being issued of rupees 30, totaling 10,800. At the end of the day, what remains is, out of 500 materials, 500 kg, 360 are issued, remains 140 kg of rupees 30 each. Amounts 4,200, and 35 rupees 400 kg, 14,000, and 28 rupees 30 units, 840 rupees. So, we have understood that from this transaction, you may have noticed that I have made issue out of the first batch. Since it is a FIFO method, whichever material we have received first must be issued first. Now, let's go to the next date, 18th. Received from vendor 600 kg of rupees 32. 600 into 32 amounts to 19,200. So, the balance remaining is 140 units of 30 each, 840, 35 rupees, 400 units, 14,000 rupees, 28, 30 kg, 840 rupees. And again, the amount which we have received today on 18th, 600 kg of rupees 32, 19,200 rupees. एकछिन स्टप गरिकन यसलाई फेरि मेटाइकन माथिदेखि ढोउनु पर्ने छ. So, we are finished up to 18th of January. So, we will continue again from 28th. On 28th, it has been issued 550 units. On 28th, it has been issued 550 units. So, first under FIFO method, it must be issued from the earliest batch. But since we see on the earliest batch, it has only 140 units. But the total number issued is 550. So, what we do is, under FIFO method, first we issue all 140 units of rupees 30. That amounts to 4,200. So, out of 550 units, we have issued 140 units from this batch. Remaining, we will issue from this batch 400 units of rupees 35, totaling 14,000 rupees. So, if we total this, we have issued 540 units only, but the total amount issued must be 550 units. So, the next shortfall of 10 units, it must be issued from this batch. So, 10 units it is issued from 28 rupees, amounts to 280 rupees. Now, what the balance remains is, we have issued all of these, we have issued all the 400 units, we have issued 10 units from this 30 kg. So, the remaining is 20 kg of 28 rupees, 480, and Next, 600 kg of 32 rupees amounting to 19,200 rupees. So if you see here, in a particular issue, we have made issues from different batches. So we have quoted different rates of these materials. So we go to the next date, that is 22nd. On 22nd, we have made a receipt from vendor for 400 kgs, quoting 34 rupees per kg. 34 into 400 amounts to 13,600. So the balance at the end of the day is 28 kg, 28 rupees, 20 kg, 480 rupees, 32 rupees, 600 kg, totaling 19,200, and 400 kg of rupees 34, totaling 13,600. So this is the total balance for the date 22nd. Now next go to the next date, 24th. 24th, there has been an issue of 250 units. So let's look at the batches here. We have to issue 250 units, but the first batch comprises only of 20 kgs. So first we will issue 20 kgs from the first batch of rupees 28. 400, 560. 560. 560. So totaling 560 rupees. The remaining, it should be issued from this batch. So 20 issued has already been made, 20 kg has already been issued. Remaining 230 kg. Remaining 230 kg will be issued from this batch, which is 32 rupees. So 32 into 230 amounts to 7,360. So after this issue has been made, the balance remains 20 kg, it has already been issued. Out of 600 kg, 230 has been issued. So it remains 370 kg of 32 rupees, amounting 11,840. Again 400 kg of rupees 34, 13,600. So these materials are still remaining. So this was on 24th. Next, on 29th, there has been a return from the work order 40 kg of rupees 32. That is on 29th. There has been a return from work order, so it is a receipt for the stores department. 40 kg of rupees 32, amounting to 1,280. So the balance at the end of the day is 32 rupees 370 kg, amounting 11,840. 400 kg of rupees 34 each, amounting 13,600 kg, and the new receipt 40 kg of rupees 32, amounting to 1,280. Now, the last transaction, it is on 30th January. Materials has been received from vendor, 200 kg of rupees 36. On 30th, it will be recorded as receipt 200 kg of rupees 36, amounts to 7,200. 7,200. So the remaining balance is 370 32 rupees, 11,840, 400, 34 kg, 34 rupees, 13,600, 40 kg of rupees 32 amounting to 1280, and 36 rupees 200 kg amounting to 7,200. So at the end of the month, we have got 4 batches that is remaining in the stores ledger. So we have finished the stores ledger. Just you have to draw a line across the ledger. So you are closing this ledger. So this was stores ledger on the FIFO method. So at the end of the stores ledger, what you have to show is the closing balance or closing stock at the end of the month. So after you finish the stores ledger, below the stores ledger, you simply write closing stock of materials as on 30th January 2002. You go to the last entry, you see the balance. You go to the last entry, you see the balance. There is first batch 370 kg at the rate of rupees 32 equals 11,840. 400 kg at the rate of rupees 34 equals 13,600 rupees. 40 kg at the rate of rupees 32 rupees 1280, and lastly 200 kg at the rate of rupees 36 rupees 7,200. You total the amount. You total the amount. 600. And the total is rupees 33,920. So this was the first method, FIFO method. I'll be coming to you shortly with the next LIFO method and so on. So until then, we go to the next class. Please try this at home. Please go through the textbooks and try to solve as many problems as you can. Okay, thank you very much.